What happens when the owner of a cafe chain scrubs sticky booths just to find out the manager's blaming someone else for his own mess? Yarden Keller had built his cafe brand from the ground up after buying it from a retired couple 10 years ago. Back then, it was just one location with dated wallpaper and bitter coffee. Now it was 7 thriving shops across the state, each one promising a cozy experience and quality service, or so he thought. But lately, he'd been getting strange reports. 1-star reviews. Photos of dirty booths, rude staff, cold food. One review stood out. It wasn't about the food or the drinks, it was about a young worker being yelled at in front of customers for not cleaning up after himself, even though the reviewer claimed the worker had just clocked in. That stuck with Yarden. He hated relying on filtered reports from district managers. They always explained things away, short-staffed that day, new trainees still learning, customer probably exaggerating. It didn't sit right with him, so he decided to go in himself. Yarden picked the 3rd cafe out of the 7. It was in a busy strip mall, tucked between a laundromat and a discount clothing store. He'd never met the staff there personally. With how big the operation had grown, most employees had no clue what he looked like. That worked in his favor. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair a dull brown, and wore thick glasses. Went by Dave. Said he was part of a new program for second-chance workers trying to re-enter the job market. Corporate had sent an email about it 2 weeks ago, so the manager, Tyler, didn't question it. Tyler was in his early 30s, slim, always looking at his reflection in the freezer doors. Wore his apron loose and spent more time on his phone than helping out. "All right, Dave," he said on day 1, barely looking up. "Just shadow Elijah today, he'll show you the ropes. You don't touch the espresso machine or the register, you clean tables and booths. Got it?" Yarden nodded. "Got it." Elijah was 19, soft-spoken, quick on his feet and constantly moving. "Hey," he said, handing Yarden a towel and a spray bottle. "I'll take front tables. You can start back near the windows. Customers love to sit there, so they get messy fast." The booths were worse than Yarden expected. Sticky syrup rings, crumbs ground into the seats, napkins shoved behind cushions. He cleaned quietly, watching Elijah clear plates and wipe down trays with practiced speed. After 2 hours, Yarden saw it. Tyler had been sitting in the back office for most of the morning. He got up, walked straight over to the booth Yarden had just cleaned and knocked over a half-full smoothie cup he'd left on the ledge for over 30 minutes. It spilled across the seat and down the side. "Elijah," Tyler barked. Elijah turned mid-wipe of a table. "Yeah, didn't I tell you to clean this booth 20 minutes ago? Look at this. This is disgusting. I should write you up." Yarden froze. "I didn't even touch that booth yet," Elijah said, confused. "I thought Dave, no, you were supposed to. It's your zone, isn't it? Or are you saying someone else made this mess?" Elijah looked down, lips pressed tight. "No, sir." Tyler didn't even give him a chance to explain. "Stop talking back. Go get more towels and fix this, and next time do your job. I'm not here to babysit." Yarden's stomach turned. He looked at the smoothie dripping down the vinyl. He had cleaned that booth. There was no smoothie before, he was sure of it. Tyler had spilled it and blamed Elijah. Yarden didn't say anything. Not yet. He wanted to see more. Over the next few days, Yarden saw the same pattern. Tyler barely worked. He barked orders, blamed others, and disappeared into the back whenever it got busy. Elijah handled most of the floor. There was also a young woman, Estelle, who made drinks and covered the register. She was sharp, fast, and kind to every customer, even the rude ones. "Dave, can you wipe the back booths again?" she asked on day 3. "I think a toddler went wild with jam." "On it," Yarden said with a grin. He noticed Elijah glancing over, brushing sweat off his forehead. "You all right?" "Yeah, just tired. We're always short lately." "2 people quit last week." "Why?" Elijah shrugged. "I dunno, Tyler's, a lot." Yarden kept working, but his jaw was tight. By the end of the week, he'd had enough. He'd seen Tyler disappear during rushes. Yell at Estelle for using oat milk wrong, and once leave the freezer door open overnight and blame Elijah again the next morning, and every time Elijah took it. Quiet. Head down. No complaints. Yarden had made up his mind. This wasn't just a lazy manager. Tyler was toxic, and people like Elijah and Estelle were paying the price, but before he revealed anything, he wanted to be sure. Just one more shift. One more day. Saturday morning came with a gray sky and the smell of burnt bagels. Yarden arrived 15 minutes early, hoping to observe opening procedures. The front lights were still off. He knocked on the glass. Estelle was inside alone, restocking the pastry case. She turned and gave a quick wave, unlocking the door. "I thought Tyler was opening with you," Yarden said, stepping in and brushing rain from his sleeves. "He was supposed to," she answered, not looking up as she adjusted a stack of almond croissants. "Didn't show. Again. How often does he miss openings?" She paused, then spoke in a low voice. "This week, 3 out of 5. Yarden scanned the café, chairs still stacked, no prep done, the espresso machine hadn't even been flushed. "You shouldn't be here alone." "I know," she said, flicking on the front lights. "But I can't afford to lose the hours. Elijah's coming in early to help." He traded with someone. Yarden started unstacking chairs without another word. They worked in silence until Elijah arrived, damp hoodie clinging to his arms. "Sorry I'm late," he said, breathing hard. "My bus was stuck behind an accident." "You're not late," Estelle said. "You're early," he blinked. "Wait, where's Tyler?" "Sleeping in, probably," she muttered. Yarden watched them both work. Estelle moved with quiet urgency, and Elijah went straight to the sink, washing his hands before prepping syrup bottles. Neither questioned the situation. Neither waited for instructions. By 7:30, customers were trickling in. The register was open, pastries labeled, machines humming. Yarden handled floors again, clearing plates and wiping tables between orders. At 8:15, Tyler walked in, no greeting, no apology. He tossed his gym bag under the front counter and started making himself a smoothie. Yarden caught the glance Elijah gave Estelle, not surprised, just tired. "Estelle," Tyler said between sips, "you didn't rotate the muffins." "I did," she replied. "Check the tags." "Then you did it wrong." "I want the banana walnut up front. That's the one we're pushing today." "No one told me that. I'm telling you now." He walked off before she could answer. By 10 o'clock, the line was out the door. A couple with a toddler asked for a booth, so Yarden cleared the one by the window. The father smiled and thanked him. The child smeared peanut butter on the cushion within seconds. "Busy day," Elijah said, passing with a tray of clean mugs. "How do you usually handle rushes?" Yarden asked. "We just survive it," Elijah said with a shrug. "Tyler disappears most of the time." "Where is he now?" "Probably in the back. He says the music out here gives him migraines." Yarden dried his hands on a towel and made his way to the back office. The door was cracked. Tyler was sitting in front of the security monitor, scrolling through his phone. An untouched schedule printout sat beside a half-eaten sandwich. Yarden knocked once, stepped inside. Tyler glanced up. "You need something?" "Just wondering if you wanted me to do another wipe down out front." "The booths are filling up again." "Don't worry about it. If they're dirty, Elijah will get them." Yarden narrowed his eyes. "He's on register right now, so he can multitask." Yarden didn't answer, just walked back out. The next hour passed in a blur of orders, spilled drinks, and a whipped cream canister explosion that left Estelle's apron soaked. Tyler didn't leave the back. At 11:30, a woman in a wheelchair came in with her daughter. Yarden greeted them and helped clear a wide enough space near the window. The daughter smiled, thanked him quietly, and they settled in with chai teas. 5 minutes later, Tyler emerged, walked to their table, and frowned. "This table's for 4. You can't block off 2 seats like that." The daughter stiffened. "She can't fit at the smaller tables." "Then maybe you shouldn't come in during peak hours," he muttered, barely audible. Yarden stepped forward immediately. "They're fine where they are." Tyler turned. "Excuse me," I said. "They're fine." "You don't get to decide that, Dave." "I do, actually." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "You're a floor worker. You don't." "I'm Yarden Keller." Silence fell. Elijah froze mid-pour. Estelle dropped a spoon. Two customers looked up from their phones. Tyler blinked. "What? I own this cafe," Yarden said, voice even, "and 6 others. I've been working here all week, watching, listening." Tyler glanced around, then forced a laugh. "Okay, if this is a joke, it's not." Yarden turned to the woman and her daughter. "I'm sorry for how you were treated. Please finish your drinks in peace. Your drinks are on me." He turned back to Tyler. "Office." Now, they walked in silence. Tyler's shoulders were stiff, his expression unreadable. Yarden shut the door behind them. "You've lied, neglected your team, and harassed customers. You've blamed your staff for your own messes. You've been consistently late, left others to cover for you, and created a hostile work environment." Tyler dropped into the chair. "You don't understand what it's like down here. We're understaffed. People quit without notice." "I'm doing my best." "No," Yarden said. "You're not. Your staff is doing their best. You're hiding in the back, playing victim and abusing your position." Tyler's voice rose. "You think you can judge me after 1 week? 1 week was enough." Yarden reached into his jacket, pulled out a small pad, and wrote something down. "You're officially terminated, effective immediately. Your final check will be mailed after we process your hours. You are not to return to this location." Tyler stood slowly. "You're making a mistake." Yarden held the door open. "No, I'm fixing one." Tyler left without another word, gym bag slung over one shoulder. The moment the door clicked shut behind him, the air in the cafe shifted. Estelle looked up from the register. Elijah moved toward the back, unsure. Yarden stepped out and addressed them both. "Come sit for a minute." They gathered at a side table near the counter. Yarden sat with them, elbows on the table, voice low. "I should have come sooner. I trusted a structure that clearly wasn't working. That's on me." Neither spoke. "Elijah, you've handled more than anyone should have to. You've been blamed, overworked, and disrespected, and you kept showing up. That says everything about your character." Elijah blinked twice, eyes fixed on his hands. "Estelle, you've been holding this place together. I saw how you manage the floor, how you keep things going even when you're left alone. I noticed." She looked away, swallowing hard. "I'm bringing in a temporary manager from another location starting Monday. Someone I trust. In the meantime, I'll be here, all weekend. You won't be alone again." Estelle nodded slowly. "I want both of you to take a paid lunch break today. Together, I'll cover the floor. You've earned more than that, but it's a start." They didn't answer right away, but when they finally stood and walked toward the back, there was something quieter in their posture. Not relief, not yet, but the weight had shifted. Yarden stepped behind the counter, took a long breath, and started wiping down the espresso machine himself. By Sunday morning, the cafe didn't hum, it groaned. The espresso machine wheezed under pressure, the pastry case looked bare, and the to-do list Tyler had ignored for weeks sat pinned above the sink, unchecked and curling at the corners. Yarden arrived early again, this time with a clipboard and no disguise. He wore a plain polo with the company logo and a calm face that gave away nothing. Estelle was already there, unpacking a delivery crate that had been left outside in the rain. She didn't ask questions. Just nodded and kept working. "Any issues with inventory?" Yarden asked, setting his bag aside. 2 milk jugs were leaking. "We're short on oat and almond," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. "Also, the sandwich bread's damp. Box was crushed at the bottom." "Noted," he said, scribbling. She hesitated. "We've told Tyler before to double-check deliveries. He said it wasn't his job." Yarden didn't answer. He didn't need to. His presence already said enough. Elijah arrived next, quieter than usual. His eyes flicked toward the back office door, then to Yarden, then back to the floor. He didn't say much, just pulled on his apron and started prepping syrup bottles. He didn't ask who was managing today. He didn't need to. By the time the sun pushed through the clouds, the cafe was 3 orders deep. Yarden posted himself near the entry, greeting customers, wiping down the condiment station and watching everything not as a boss, but as a witness. It was remarkable how much smoother things ran without someone undermining them. Elijah and Estelle moved fast but with less tension. They still looked tired, but the kind of tired that came from effort, not dread. Mid-morning, a new barista walked in, short with close-cropped hair and round glasses. Her name tag read Rena. Yarden had called her in from the downtown location, one of his strongest employees, known for keeping calm under pressure. "You're covering here for the week," Yarden said, handing her a printed schedule. "You'll be lead on floor. Elijah and Estelle know the layout. You just keep the rhythm steady. I'll stay out of your way unless you need me." Rena nodded, already scanning the cafe with a sharp eye. "I'll need the shift log. And has anyone checked the sanitizer temp today?" "Not yet," Estelle answered. "All right, I'll do that now." Yarden stepped aside, watching with quiet relief as she moved behind the counter like she'd worked there for months. At noon, a man in a gray suit walked in. He looked around briefly, then approached the register with a confidence that was out of place. "You the owner?" "I am," Yarden replied. "I'm Justin, corporate leasing. We manage this strip. I usually deal with your manager, Tyler, but we've had some complaints from the laundromat next door, trash bags left overnight by the side door, overflowing bins." "You aware of that?" Yarden's expression didn't change. "I am now." He said it was your cleaning crew's fault, but the timestamps on the camera say otherwise. Bags were dumped around 8:30 at night. That's during business hours. "Thanks for letting me know." "I'll take care of it." Justin gave a short nod and left without another word. Elijah, who had overheard, lowered his voice. "He's been doing that for weeks. Says it's not his job to carry trash to the back alley." "Is there a key to the service gate?" "There is. Tyler keeps it in the drawer under the register, or used to." Yarden opened the drawer. "Empty, great," he muttered. "I'll have a locksmith replace the lock today. In the meantime, we'll set up a temporary bin by the back door inside." As the afternoon rolled on, Yarden rotated between sweeping, helping at the sink, and taking notes. He watched Rena redirect a customer who tried to skip the line. He watched Elijah fix a steaming wand leak with a wrench from under the counter. He saw Estelle handle a refund request from a man who claimed he'd been overcharged for foam. Every one of those moments added weight to what he already knew. They deserved better. At 3, he called them into the back. All 3, Rena included. They stood near the metal prep table. A stack of towels sat beside them, drying slowly. "I've made a decision," Yarden said. "This store has been operating under a failed structure. That ends now." Estelle shifted slightly but didn't speak. "Elijah," Yarden continued, "you're being promoted to shift lead, effective immediately. You'll get a pay bump and I'll make sure it reflects on your next statement. You've earned that and more." Elijah blinked. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," Yarden replied. "Just keep doing what you're doing, but I want you off closing shifts for a while. You've been covering too many late nights. We'll rotate better." He turned to Estelle. "You'll be offered a full-time floor supervisor position. If you accept, it comes with benefits and a fixed schedule. No more last-minute closings. I want your input during supply orders and staff training." Estelle's jaw tightened, then eased. "I thought I wasn't even on the radar." "You were the radar." Finally, Yarden looked at Rena. "You'll stay here one more week, then we'll talk about moving you into a training lead role. I want you helping open 2 more stores by winter." Rena raised an eyebrow. "You're expanding." "Not unless we get this one right first," Yarden said. "I'm not building on broken foundations." They nodded and he let them return to the floor. He stayed behind for a moment, checking the clock. Still 2 hours until close. He pulled out his phone and dialed his HR director. "Hey, I need a formal statement sent to all store managers by tomorrow morning," he said. "We're implementing new accountability protocols. No more single manager oversight. Shift leads will report directly to regional. I'll send you the structure tonight." He paused, listening. "Yes, I know some won't like it. That's kind of the point." He hung up and returned to the front just in time to see Elijah gently hand a chocolate milk to a crying toddler while the mother mouthed a quiet thank you. Estelle was already behind the counter, prepping syrups for the morning. Rena wiped down the register screen with a practiced rhythm. Yarden didn't interrupt. He just started restocking the napkin dispensers. There were still things to fix: staffing gaps, equipment upgrades, supply chain delays. But the rot had been cut out. The damage had been real but not irreversible. He didn't need to announce anything else. The work was already speaking louder than any policy memo, and that, he realized, was the problem all along. Too many decisions from too far away. Too many signals lost between floors. It wasn't about being a hands-on boss forever, it was about building a system where hands didn't get ignored. As the sun began to dip, he threw out the last bag of trash himself. No shortcuts, no dumped bags, just one clean shift start to finish. By Wednesday afternoon, the cafe had settled into a new rhythm. It wasn't seamless, but it was honest, each shift held together by direct accountability and quieter confidence. There were still more tasks than hands, but no one was looking over their shoulder anymore, waiting for blame to land on them. And no one vanished when it got hard. Yarden returned after visiting 2 other locations in the morning, arriving just past 3. He walked in through the back, not with the quiet tread of a disguised observer, but with the deliberate steps of someone who had finally taken the wheel again. Rena was prepping espresso beans for the evening rush, and Elijah was reprinting a receipt for an elderly customer who'd misplaced their order slip. He waited until Elijah returned to the counter before speaking. "I talked to the supplier this morning. They're rerouting shipments through a closer distributor. You won't be getting soggy bread or late crates again." Elijah nodded but didn't hide the look of surprise. "That was fast. I'm not wasting time anymore." Estelle stepped out from behind the fridge door, a clipboard in hand. "Does that include finalizing the new schedule?" "Almost done. I just needed to confirm who wants what." He paused. "You still good with closing Tuesdays and Fridays, and mornings the rest?" She tapped the clipboard with a pen. "That works, just as long as I'm not the only closer." "You won't be." "Rena's training 2 part-timers this weekend. They'll rotate in next week." Elijah leaned against the counter, keeping his voice low. "You're making all these moves just for this store?" "For now," Yarden said. "If we can't fix things here, I've got no business scaling anything else." He didn't elaborate and didn't need to. The shift in tone wasn't about expansion or brand polish. It was about restoring trust, something that had been quietly eroded while he was looking the other way. Rena finished refilling the bean hopper and turned toward him. "I noticed the injection wand's pressure dips after the second long pull. Might be a valve issue." "I'll have maintenance in by Friday," Yarden said. "Use the backup machine if you need to." "I'd rather a slower line than another equipment failure." She gave a quick nod and returned to calibrating the grinder. No wasted words, no need for reassurance. At 5, the first trainee arrived, Maya, a community college student who'd been working weekends at another location. She was quiet but sharp, and Rena had already walked her through the register system the day before. She joined Estelle on drinks while Elijah moved into the floor lead role, checking orders and keeping flow steady. By 6, a short lull gave them breathing room. Yarden took the opportunity to pull each of them aside one at a time for brief check-ins. He started with Estelle, who was wiping down the drink station. "Anything still bothering you?" he asked, keeping his tone even. She glanced up. "We need a new mop head. The current one reeks even after bleach soak. I'll order replacements tonight." And she hesitated. "We should replace the booth cushions near the windows. There's a tear in one. Kids keep picking at the foam." "Noted. I'll have the vendor send samples for replacement materials." "You'll help choose?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Seriously, it's your floor, you know what works." She gave a small nod before returning to her station. Next, he caught Elijah near the staff sink, drying his hands. "I've been thinking about your shift lead role," Yarden said. "Eventually, I'd like you to help train others." Elijah straightened. "I'm not sure I'm ready." "You don't have to be yet, but I trust your instincts, and I want to build around people who have been through the worst of this and still chose to stay." Elijah looked down at the wet towel in his hands. "I only stayed because I didn't think I had options." "You do now." Elijah's voice was quiet but clear. "Then yeah, When the time comes, I'll help. Finally, he joined Rena near the back where she was inspecting the water filtration system. How's it feel being on the other side? He asked. Lighter, she said. People listen, that's rare in food service. You've got 1 more week here. After that, I want you to help onboard management at the new location in East Side. She didn't react immediately. Then, that store's been through 3 managers in a year. I know. And I trust you to help me break that cycle. She didn't nod. She just returned to testing the filter pressure gauge, and he took that as agreement. At 7, a man walked in wearing a courier badge and carrying a folder. He approached the counter and handed the envelope to Yarden. Legal packet, the courier said. Signed delivery. Inside were the final termination documents for Tyler. Clean severance terms, clear language on non-re-entry, and confirmation of his forfeited managerial bonus due to breach of conduct. Yarden signed the last form at the back counter and handed it back without a second glance. As the evening wore on, Maya took over register duties while Estelle guided her through drink timing. Elijah handled a customer complaint about a missing syrup shot without hesitation, offering a remake and refund before Yarden could even step in. By 9, the last few tables had cleared. The booths were wiped, the trash bins were tied and stacked by the back door, and the floor had a new calm to it. Not from lack of work, but from the absence of fear. Yarden poured himself a small drip coffee, leaned against the front counter, and waited until the last staff member clocked out. He turned to Elijah and Estelle, who were finishing their closing checklist. This place feels different, he said. Estelle closed the logbook and looked at him. It's the same place, just not the same weight, Elijah added. No one's waiting to be blamed anymore. That's huge. Yarden nodded. I won't let it go back to what it was. From now on, you'll always have a direct channel to me. No more filters, no more silence. Estelle hung up her apron. Then we'll hold you to that. Yarden smiled faintly. Good. I expect you to. He stayed until the lights were dimmed and the front door locked. The street outside was quiet, strip mall signs flickering above closed shops. He looked back once through the glass at the booths now clean, the register off, the machines powered down. It wasn't perfect. And it wouldn't be. But it was no longer broken, and the people who'd held it together when it was falling apart were now the ones trusted to lead. Not because they asked for it, but because they'd proven, again and again, they already were.